Hey everybody, today we're going to go over some more vector basics, but they're going to be a little bit more advanced than last time. So as you can see here on my screen, this is what we're going to be working with for the tutorial. If you have your own illustration or sketch that you would like to vectorize that's similar, I definitely recommend following along with your own sketch. Alright, so I have prepared my file for this tutorial and for vectorizing this. You can see here I have my color swatches up here, and I have my original artwork. This is all 2D, rasterized, a little bit old, but it's perfect for today's video. We're going to go over symmetry, duplicating, and transforming things we make so we can make it symmetrical, just to save ourselves some time. And we're also going to go over multiple layers within the vector system here. And we're also going to go over how to use multiple vector layers and how that actually works out. So before we get started, we're going to kind of look at this and identify some larger shapes that we can work with right off the bat. So we can see that there's her skin, so we can technically make a whole shape that's just her skin color. We can do the same with her horns and her hair. And then for the background, this is going to be a little bit more simpler because it's just a circle with lines in it. So before we get started, we gotta make sure we add our vector layer here. I'm gonna start with the background. So before I start making the circle shape behind her, I'm gonna rename this. I'm just gonna say pentagram. I had to think about the word. There we go. And this is gonna be our lowest layer, our lowest vector layer. All right, so we're gonna go and start with the background most asset here, which is going to be the pentagram, I believe it's called. I went ahead and made a vector layer, labeled that so I know what it is. And I'm going to just start making my shape here using the Shift and Alt key to kind of reposition and scale it, which you learned about in the last video. So if you're new to vectors completely and you're not sure where to begin, I would definitely recommend going to check it out. Alright, so now that we have our circle here, we're going to click on it and we're going to start changing it. I'm going to turn this to the golden color here. So in the upper toolbox area here, the toolbar, we have these color swatches. This is an easier way to change your colors versus using the color selector history here or changing it down here. So right now I'm just going to show you this one, change it to red. So you can see here the fill color is this red and the outline color is going to be black. We want to keep it black. We want to make the fill color a different color, which is that gold. So we're going to use our eyedropper and we're going to just eyedrop that color swatch, hit OK. So if I turn this layer off, you can see that it matches the color. So that line needs to be a little bit thicker, so we're going to click on that shape again. I'm just going to bring it up to 10. Well, let's do 15. Not bad. And now we're going to copy and paste. We're going to take the stroke off and we're going to actually fill this in with black, and we're going to scale that down. So if you're trying to size everything perfectly, you can actually lower the opacity on your vector layer and you can line up everything against your original reference layer or sketch that you've made and kind of match it. Alright, so we basically have that shape done, but now we need to make the star here. So for that, we're going to go to our Bezier curve tool, and I'm just going to click and drag. I'm not even going to make this perfect. Right off the bat, I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to go back to my shape selector tool, turn my opacity back on, and we need to change this color. So we go and eyedrop it. Now as a note, everything, this lower box here is always going to be your line color and the upper one is the fill color. So I'm going to make this a little bit thicker. I think 20 should be good. Actually, let's do 15. Oops. There we go. I'm going to double click on it. Reduce the opacity. I'm going to kind of fix this a little so I can line this up better with the original. So now we need to do the other side, but instead of redoing what we just did, we can go ahead and right click and hit copy. We can paste at cursor, which is wherever our cursor is where it's going to paste it, or we can just hit right click paste and it just offsets it a little bit so we can see where it is. I'm going to drag it over. I'm going to right click on again and go to transform and then mirror horizontally. And then place it where it needs to be. Now, I don't think my original line work was perfectly symmetrical for some reason. I don't know what happened there, but we're going to keep it symmetrical for the sake of this tutorial. All right. So you just shift it over a little bit. There. So now we have our pentagram and it is symmetrical. We didn't have to remake too much of the shapes. We could just duplicate it and transform it. And that's what we're going to be using a lot of in this video. And it's very helpful, especially for shapes you just don't want to keep copying and pasting. All right, so we have that layer. So this is going to be our bottommost layer. So we're going to turn that off for now because we don't need to worry about it. Now we're going to work on a middle ground for the character. Anything, so her ears, her face, and her upper torso there is going to be within this layer. All right, so we're going to go back to our Bezier curve, and I'm not going to be too perfect here with her face with this detail because the hair is going to be on the topmost layer and it's going to cover it anyway. But I do want to get this outline here. So there's a couple things you can do. You can either do the face separately. So if you want to add some gradients, you can do that. If you don't care about the gradients, you can keep this entire background all one piece. We're going to do that. And I'll show you how I did it before with it all separated. So I'm just going to fast forward this as I make the first half of her body. Okay, so I have made the first half. So as you can see, it's a black outline. I actually don't want it to be black. So I'm going to go back to our color here and I drop it with her skin that I used for my swatches, just so I can see this better. So this isn't perfectly aligned, so we can go in and tweak this by just double clicking on it and just kind of fine tuning the curves a little bit. All right, that's good enough. So we're going to do the same thing that we did before. We're actually going to copy and paste this. And then we're going to transform and mirror horizontally and just line it up. Now it may not be perfect, maybe a little, some of the points here in the middle may be over the center point, and that's okay. All right, so now we have this shape, but we want to fill it in to a solid color for her skin. So what we can do is we can double click on both of these. Once you double click on both of these, take the two endpoints. You can either click and drag them, or you can just click and then shift click. Under our tool options, we have a ton of buttons here, okay? These on the far right are going to be to merge, separate, all that good stuff. We want to merge these 2 points to make it one big shape. We're going to click on this icon back here. It's going to say merge points. If you hover over it, click on that, and now these points are 1. So if you move it around, it's 1 point. And we're going to do the same thing to the bottom. I'm going to merge those together, and now we can see it is 1 point. Perfect. So now if we go back to our shape selection tool, we can actually fill this in. We can fill it in with that shape, and we can actually turn our stroke color off. So now we have the skin. This is just the base for the head. You don't need to do anything too crazy with it. And now we can move on to further detail. So from this point on, I would recommend lowering your opacity just so you can see what you're doing. All right, so now we want to add in some detail for the actual line art here. I'm going to keep this on the same layer, but I want this to be black for the line art. So I'm going to make sure that the line art, the stroke color is black here up on the top. And I'm going to start using my Bezier curve to make some of these lines. So I'm going to fast forward or cut to it when I am done. All right, so now we've made our lines for the head separation, the neck, and then the clavicle here. These aren't perfect by any means, but you can see right off the bat too that we have some issues with the endpoints. So we want to fix that. So in the last video, we went over how to round off the ends here. We want to do that because it looks so so much better. You can see right off the bat the difference between a rounded endpoint and a square. We do not want the square, so we're going to go ahead and fix that. Another thing we want to do is change the thickness. The thinner lines just look better. And then from here we can go ahead and modify any of these points if we need to, so things kind of line up a little better. Now for this part specifically, if we lower our opacity, actually turn this layer off, you can see I did not connect the lines completely. We can absolutely match that with the vector as well. If we click on this and double click on it, we click on any of these little square icons or these points, we can actually break. So we break them off and now they're two separate lines. They're still technically one shape. So if you want to move it, you can. And we want to do the same thing with this one. So we click on that, go to break at point, so we can move them separately. So now we can add a little bit of a unique look to this. All right, so now we've added a little bit of detail in here. And again, I will show you what it looks like if we were to make the head one shape and then the neck and the body a separate shape to change how things look with the layering. What we want to do now is work on the hair. So what I did was I made another vector layer, and all the topmost portions of this character art were going to be on this topmost layer. So that was going to be this part of her hair, the horns, and all of her facial details. The eyebrows, the eyes, the mouth, all that good stuff. Before we do that though, I would like to block in the ears so we can start seeing how this looks. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then I will see you for the face. All right, so we are now on the details of the face. So I went ahead and hid my middle vector shape layer. I'm just gonna work on the eyes. So this is gonna be a little more complicated in some ways. But what I did was I outlined the overall shape of the eyelashes and kept that separate. So I'm actually going to go to my vector layer here. I'm going to use 0.4. And I just went and outlined this whole shape. And I ended it around this point here, where it started to get thinner. There we go. And now we want to take the stroke color off and fill it with black. So if I take off the original reference layer, now we have the shape of the eye. And we can go in and kind of fine tune it, clean it up a little bit, make it a little bit more round, for example. And then if you want to delete some points, what I have found with vector work is the less points you have along curves, the nicer of a curve it can be. So you can just click on it and delete it. And then we have a much nicer curve here. I'm actually doing the same thing to this. There we go. It looks much cleaner. All right, and then we gotta do the whole eye right here, which is the color of the eyeball. So here we would want to have the shape of the eye. So we're going to kind of do the same thing, except instead of worrying about the outermost for the eyelashes, we don't need to worry about the overall shape too much as long as this portion here is accurate. We're going to refine this. So we're gonna click on that. We're gonna make the line art, I think it was, 2 should be fine. We're gonna make it black. And then the fill, let's see. We're going to make it, we'll just make it a off-white. That looks good. We want to make sure, however, that our eyelashes are at the front. So we're going to right click on that and hit bring to front. So now we can see how this is going to turn out. We have the eyelashes here, we have the eyeball itself, but with an outline to get the eye detail. And now we have our eye. So the rest of this is going to be adding in another stroke for this part here, just to separate the tear duct from the actual eyeball, and then making some basic round shapes to make the actual iris and pupil. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and I'll show you how I kind of modify the circles to get like a more elongated oval. So now that I have the eye mostly done, I'll show you what I did. So when you make a shape, any of these pre-made shapes and vectors, if you double click on it, you have points, but they don't actually edit like a stroke you've made. They kind of allow you to make a half sphere and things like that, but it's not what we want. So when you make the shape, you click on it, and you double click on it so these points show up. And you right click on it anywhere on that shape, and you hit to path. So now we have points we can adjust. So I just went ahead and modified it to match the shape of the eye here. And then I duplicated it just for the pupil. Now to make sure that this is all behind the eyelashes that we made, we want to right click on the eyelashes and bring to front. And you can see that automatically it has a nice curve now across both of those shapes, just to make it a little nicer. There we go. So we want to take a look at what we have so far. This is what we've got. It needs a little bit of tweaking in terms of smoothing out some parts, but we get the idea. So now we want to work on the other facial details, such as the nose, the mouth, and some of the eye details, and then we'll work on the hair. So I'm going to go ahead and make those face details, and then we'll start blocking out this hair section right here with the vector tools. Right, we are now on to the hair. So because this is not symmetrical, you don't have to do half and then copy it over. But if you wanted to, like maybe you just want to get the bulk of the shape in here, you could. I'm just going to rough this out a little bit. We're going to fine tune this later. I'm just going to show you what you can do if you want to just do half of this. Alright, we're going to copy and paste it like we had done previously, mirror horizontally. I'm going to turn off this layer here just so we can see what we're doing. Alright, and we're going to merge these two shapes, or 2 points. Alright, turn that layer back on. So we can just go through and manually move all these points now. So we don't have to spend time using the Bezier curve to just keep making points and all that. Now this is a little bit more work, however, because what you're going to have to do is add in more points anyway. So for example, gotta add some points here to get this piece of hair. What we want to do is go to our Bezier curve. We're going to click on that point, that last one, and automatically it's going to connect new points from that point on. So now, find, okay, so this is the end point for the other side. So I'm just going to click there. And now this is one shape. One's very sloppy shape. I'm just gonna reduce the line thickness a bit. All right, I'm gonna clean this up and then we're gonna move on to final details and adjustments with the previous version I made just to save time. All right, so I went ahead and turned off the pentagram layer just because it interferes with everything we've done because we haven't filled in the hair yet. But you can see so far how this is looking. We have the body, we have the face, and it fits pretty well into the original artwork, which is behind all this. So if you want to continue, you can, and just keep going with the rest of the details. At this point, I would recommend go ahead. What we can do is group the eye. I can get it. There we go. Group, make sure it's all there. You can copy and paste it, transform, mirror horizontally, line that up. So we have more of a face now, and then we can go ahead and clean up any other shapes. Alright, so I'm going to show you what I have here, which is the original vector I did, which is mostly done. There are a couple things I need to do, which is fix the clavicle a little bit and the end caps on some of these points. But I'm going to show you how I broke this down originally and why. So I made the head separate so we can do the gradient. You have to select this little yellow box to kind of reposition the gradient. Now I made the head separate so we can make the gradient separate from the rest of the skin because that's just how it works. When you look at the figure anyway, you're not having one solid shadow covering a flat surface. It's a 3D shape. So I kind of wanted to prep it to imitate that a little bit, especially because the hair is covering her forehead. So that's part of why I did that. So now I can go back to the body here and do the same thing. Do a gradient. There we go. So now we can see that it has a little bit more of a lighting effect. It looks pretty nice. If you want to take this a step further, what we can do is copy and paste the shape. I'm going to take the stroke off. I'm going to make sure this is, let's see, I'm going to lower it. I'm going to use the hotkeys for this till it gets to where I want. There we go. We're going to do another gradient. We're going to click on the light color. We're going to click on these boxes here. We're going to hit the edit stop. We're going to take the opacity down to 0. So now we have a transparent gradient. So we can actually have a little bit more of a shadow if we want. And then copy and paste that layer. We can mirror horizontally. You can see how it's transparent. I'm just gonna place it here. And the only downfall is we have the black outline, which is in the way. So here's where decisions have to be made, which are kind of difficult. We're gonna group that gradient that we just made for the shadow. We're going to click on the torso, and we're going to duplicate it again. We're going to make sure it's underneath everything else. We're going to take the fill off of it completely. So it's just the outline. So now we can take our gradient and put it kind of over the shape we just made. Lower it until it's under the black lines. There we go. So it's under the black lines, but we still have black lines to work with. And then we can go back up to this and just break at point, and we can delete those. We can fine tune this. There. So what we did was let me just separate this out so we can see. We have our line art, we have the gradient, and then we have the line art with the solid fill already with its own gradient as the bottom layer. So when you combine those together, this is what we get. A lot of layering, a little bit more complicated, but there's a reason for it. And if you need to, you can always go back in and adjust the line art. Okay. Close enough. So that's how you can add a nice gradient on this without using multiple vector shapes. Now, if you really wanted to, you could also take this topmost line art layer. You can cut that and make another vector layer and put it there. And what this will allow you to do is go ahead and tweak everything underneath it without messing up the line art layer. All right, so I'm also going to show you how to take out chunks of your shape without having to manually redo it. So we're going to make a Bezier curve, and we're just going to make a shape here. And this shape is going to be used to cut out a portion of the eyebrow against the hair, so it kind of lines up nicely. All right, so I changed my cut shape to blue. This is what's going to basically delete everything along this curve for the eyebrow. I'm going to click on the eyebrow first, then shift click the blue shape, right click, go to logical operations, and hit subtract. So now we have basically cut that portion out perfectly where the hair is going to cover it without having to manually go in and adjust the shape itself with all the points, because that's pain. And sometimes it doesn't come out right and it just looks weird and it's just pain overall. So that's how you can go ahead and start deleting shapes that are intersecting that you may not like how it looks. All right, so if you're this far along, congrats. We have basically finished most of this. Any further details you would want to add would be adding the gradient like we did to the shapes with the head and the torso, repositioning the layering with the shapes that we made. They're putting it on a different layer, different vector layer, which I'm going to show real quick. If you take this and you send it to the back, it's sending it to the back of that vector layer it's on. It will never be behind the bottommost vector layer. So that is actually pretty helpful if you need some of these elements to be, let's say, in front of the torso but behind this piece of hair, but you want on the same layer, you can do that. Or if you want these parts of the hair right here on the topmost layer, so everything is always behind these chunks of hair in the other layers, you can also do that. The ears, for example, I have made sure they're on a lower layer, so no matter what, they will always be behind the hair, no matter what I do. Alright, so if you wanted to, because this is a vector now, we can go ahead and scale this up with the group. You can go ahead and click on the group and shift drag. Now it looks a little funny because I haven't hit enter yet, so we're just going to make that a little bit bigger. Hit enter. It's still pretty clear. It's a nice smooth line. It retains the thickness. As I scaled it up, it didn't like keep it super tiny. Because it's a vector, it doesn't lose quality when you scale it up. So for example, if I were to scale up this one, shift click, you can see it's pretty fuzzy, right? It doesn't have nice crisp lines like the vector does. You can see right here in the eyes especially how different that is. That's one of the reasons why you may want to vectorize something, so you can use it across multiple applications later on in terms of resizing without losing any major quality. And that's it for this tutorial. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. I'll do my best to answer them. Hopefully it wasn't too long after all the editing is done. So your homework is going to be to take a sketch that you've already made or a piece of artwork that's a little bit more complicated. I would recommend something symmetrical just to make it easy on yourself, and go ahead and start using multiple vector layers, figuring out what method you prefer in terms of making maybe the skin all one shape, or piecing it out based on the portion of the body, like the head, like the face separate from the neck, so you can do gradients. Definitely use gradients to add some shadows and make it look neat. And share what you've made with the Creative class in my Discord server, which the link is in the description down below. And then I will see you guys either in the Discord or in the next video where we go over some more advanced vector processes and uses. Thank you for watching, and I will see you then.